Hi, everybody, and thank you for coming onto our Kantha workshop. So, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and why I love Kantha so much. I myself don't know why I love it, but what I love is that I can't find two Kanthas the same. I have over 5,500 Kantha, and my love affair of Kantha started when I was very, very young. And for over about 25 years, I've been doing research on canthas and collecting, trying to get the two canthas of the same kind. So my father bought me a cantha, and I said to my dad, Dad, why didn't you get me another one? You know I like the two of the same thing. But 25 years later, I've not managed to find the same cantha, two canthas alike, because they're always different. And the cantha is like a Cinderella story. They don't know where it originated from, but there are many, many stories about the cantha, but it's not been identified where it originated. Tipu Sultan, he used it in his armor, and his armor was made out of silk. So there were little stitches, that running stitches, that was on his armor and on his waistcoat. The waistcoat, um, if you look at when you make the silk and you try to put a needle through, it's very, very hard to penetrate. So it kept him safe when he went to war. And if you are living in England, you can go and visit in the British Museum and other museum where Tipu Sultan's armor is there. And it's absolutely amazing and beautiful, beautiful running stitch. And Kantha's always made from old fabric, recycle. So sari is one of the biggest Kantha, making, because it's a big piece of 6 meters of fabric. So when the Kantha gets old, then it's given by the rich people, is given to the working class, um, women in the village, people that are working in the house, and they start making these kantha. And usually, when I was doing my studies, it's always done during the winter months, because the winter month, it's cooler in the South Asia, and not much monsoon rain or anything. So they throw it over the courtyard. And what is amazing as these people, and they're fantastic designers, but they've never been to design school. Like me and my chair, Val Jackson's, we've been to design school. We were taught. But these women and girls, I've not seen in my research any men doing kantha. It's always the women. And the women just lays the fabric down in the courtyard, and they lay one fabric, two fabric, three long pieces of sari, and then they put the big stones on each end. And then what they do is like, what I love about is that it's recycle every piece. So they get the threads at the border of the sari and start doing running stitch on the canthas, starting the beginning of the canthas. And I was astonished how I kept on asking them, what about, have you done a drawing? Have you done a research on the design? And they said no. They thought I was alien asking these questions. So what they do is the designs and everything is in their brain, and it's like everyday things that they see in their surrounding that is implemented in the kantha. And if you look behind me, there are kanthas that have been made in Bangladesh, because I was very fortunate that my mother-in-law, helped me to collect my large collection of kanthas. And even some of her saris, lots of her saris, she made them into kantha for me. And lots of them, when she wasn't looking, which I, love the designs, I just helped myself and put it in the suitcase. But she knew I took them, and they became part of the collection. So today, I'm going to show you how to do kantha stitch, and I'm also going to show you how, and also about the kantha. It's every person who makes the kantha, they are telling their own story. It's their writing, their imprint that is in these kanthas. You can never ever achieve this with a machine. Machine is mechanical. It doesn't tell you a story. It's just chemical. Not chemical. It's mechanical. But whereas with this, every stitch a woman and child does, it's their hand that is telling the story of their kantha. And so that is what fascinates me. So I'm going to show you some stuff that we did during our heritage project, which we were very fortunate, and we won a national award, and during COVID. So during COVID, I showed people how to sew kantha, small pieces together. Then we made large, big pieces. And with the when you're doing you are lost in your own world. When you're sewing these long pieces of running stitch, you are lost in a world that only you and your needle, which is your pen, is in this world. And with the running stitch, it really, and with the kantha, it helps your well-being, your mental health. And because we were going through such traumatic times, and we lost students, friends and family, but these running stitch helped the women and children to cope during COVID. So I'm going to show you some of the things that we did. So these are absolutely beautiful, beautiful pieces of, so we didn't throw anything away. We asked people, because where are we going to get 6 meters of long fabric of saris? So what we did is that we asked people on Twitter, on Instagram, and we rang people, and we begged and borrowed, and we used beddings, and we used old shirts. And you need soft fabric to sew the stitches together. Otherwise, if you use thick fabric, your thumb's going to go, right? So these are some of the work that the women have done. And it looks remarkable because, look, you can see that they have done it by their hands. Can you see all the threads? So this is what they were doing during lockdown. So here we go again. And if you have time and you want to come to the mill, you can come and have a look at them. I'll put them on the exhibition so that you can go have a look in the exhibition room. So every one of them, if you look at it, I gave them the same fabric, same thread, same everything, but it was their translation that made their small pieces of kantha very, very unique. Can you see? And sometimes people say, oh, they're not made by, it's done on the machine, but this is the back of it. So you can see they're all handmade. And then, and everybody, we taught them a few stitch. They just took the kantha to a different level. And these are all made from bed sheets, quilt covers. We ripped them up, we washed them and put them together. And then, which I'll show this bit last to you, but you can see the kantha's taken a goth look as well. And I wonder what people in South Asia would say to this. Yeah. And then we made these big hearts out of kantha, you know, doing the kantha stitch, because this was for the people who had lost their loved one. So, you know, we made these hearts and we gave them to them so that they could, you know, squeeze and feel their heart is still here with them. And then this is another one, all made out of scraps of fabric that you would just like put in the bin. And then this is Nawal's work, Noor's work, and she beaded it, but every stitch is running stitch. Can you see? And they're all waste fabric. I think she used her husband's shirt and some beddings and put it all together. So every one is different. So I want to show you, like, this is a kantha, another heart, and it's not finished, but I want to show you that we are really sewing them by hand, no machine. And it's amazing because these women have never sewn and didn't even know what kantha was. But the, you know, the running stitch, it's got its own, it runs away and tells its own story with individual hands. Yeah. So I am going to show you how to do a kantha. So this is another one that when we begin, we do like, we put pins, and then I've just sewed this on the sewing machine to attach it to show my year 10 students. Can you take all this away, please? So I've got like a whole bag scraps here. So because we don't have much time, if you were here with me and if you were like coming to my class, this would take time, because this is taking time. Not only that it takes time, but it's also helps you to think about how you're going to place the fabric, what design and everything. Whereas in South Asia, they lay the fabric on top of each other. These 6 meters of fabric, but we don't have 6 meters. But what we do have is these teeny little scraps, and I have laid them like this. Can you see? And then I pin them down. Yeah. So you need if you're going to go do it along with me, please find some soft fabric in your house. I'll give you 5 minutes to quickly go and get something that's soft, even a worn out tea towel. Everybody has things in their house that they want to throw away, but don't throw it away. Keep it and make something new. Make a little cushion, make a little heart from this kantha stick. So this is one of my year 9 students. She did a plait. Can you see? And she's going to be sewing this one. So I'm going to show you how to do one, and I'm going to quickly show it to you because we don't have much time. So this is a very soft cotton, and it was a bed sheet. So I would lay 3 of these together. So here you are. I'm going to show you 2 different ones. So I'm going to show you this one, which is a traditional way of doing it, because this is how they would have just, you can imagine this is 6 meters of fabric. Okay. Just, you know, so this 6 meters of fabric, I'm laying it down. And so just imagine that I put stone on each end. So, you know, I pre-ironed this, but when I watched in Bangladesh, they didn't iron them. They just like did it. and it became really beautiful as well when it's finished. So have your needle and thread. So when you thread a needle, I want you to show you that you should not have, so that is the length of my arm. So your needle thread should be the length of your arm, because if you have it really long, so when you're doing the running stitch, it's going to get tangled. Yeah, it's better that you rethread, you know, have a new thread every time rather than, you know, having a tangle, because when you have a tangle, then you're going to get a knot in your canthus. So I'm going to show you how to do an invisible stitch. Maybe I won't use the red because you won't be able to see. So I've got this color and I want to show you how you do. Can you see? You can see? Right. So I never tie a knot because I don't want to tie a knot. If I tie a knot, then it's going to show through. So I want to have a double-sided one. So that's why I am doing an invisible stitch. But because I've got this amazing audience, I'm going to teach you this one little skill that was the skill for life. So what I do is I put the first, can you see what I've done? This is the first piece of fabric. I haven't taken a knot. I haven't got a knot on my, and then I just put it through and then I pull it out. Can you see? And then I go back into that stitch. And then I just start my running stitch. And it doesn't matter if your running stitch is big ones, small ones. It doesn't matter because everybody creates their own, you know, handwriting through these running stitch, because it is like your hands writing. How many people do you know who's got the same handwriting as you and it looks exactly the same? Does anybody know? You can put it on the chat, because I know that my handwriting is completely different from my brothers and sisters or anybody that I know. It's just like, you know, my handwriting, and the same goes for my stitches, because this is a form of handwriting. And you can you see? And have you seen I didn't take a knot? So this is the back of mine. Yeah. Okay. So you just continue doing your running stitch, and then I'm going to show you another one that you can do as well. Okay. So I'm going to leave this one, then come back to this one. So I've got another piece of fabric. So when you have lots and lots of little scraps, so I have lots of scraps. So this is, so I get this as like a base cloth. This is a base cloth, I call it. So what we do in our workshop is I have all these scraps. I love fabrics. I'm absolutely mad about fabrics. I have the whole mill is full of fabrics, and it's not. I'm just finding fabrics all over the place. I find fabrics in the street, clothes in the street. I just have to have it. I, you know, bring it home, wash it, and then I reuse it, because there's no way I'm going to get, and nobody's going to give me 6 meters of fabric. I have to travel and, you know, go to Bangladesh or India or Pakistan or Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, you know, all the South Asian countries, and to get a piece of saris too. And while we're on the topic of sari, I want to tell you, do you know where saris originated from? Does anybody know? You can put it on the chat. Well, actually, saris originated from the Greek god, and South Asian people adapted it, and now it's become their fashion item. And so you can see how fashion is evolved from one country to the next, because in South Asia, people didn't wear saris, they wore blouse and not petticoat, but skirts. And some part of South Asia, they're still wearing skirt and blouse. And if you go to the British Museum, you can ask them and they have evidence of it. Okay, right. So getting back to our kantha. So this is my base cloth, and this is my wonderful bag of goodies. These are all bed sheet, then a blouse, you know, quilt cover. So when it's gone really, really soft and about to be discarded with holes in them, and that's when I love them, because I feel that I have to look after them. They're treasures to me. They're treasures. So I'm wondering what happened to Val. Val is meant to talk along with me. Val is my chair, and she's an international renowned artist, and her work goes all over the place. Here she is. So while Val loves kanthas too, Val loves South Asian design. She went to India a few times and she bought a few things. She would love to book the whole of India with her, but she loves the bazaar. And so you can see that when I'm laying my fabric, look at this. This is a little scrap that you would throw in the bin, but this is a beautiful piece, and it will turn into a beautiful piece of art. And I'm little myself, my hands are little as well, but if you look, this is my finger, and can you see the fabric? The fabric is not that much big, and people say, what can I do with it? You can do a lot with this tiny piece of fabric, as Val will tell you. So I'm going to lay the fabric down. So if you're following me, please, can you put your picture up as well, so that I can see? Send it to me, and Val's going to show you her collection of kantha. Because just before we go, I want to say that kantha has become very fashionable in this in the European. In America, Ralph Lauren, he's had kantha turned into sofas, curtains, the house, and he now, last season, he had a kantha jacket that, you know, people bought, but it wasn't recognized that it said Ralph Lauren, but didn't say that it originated from South Asia. So, you know, there's like lots of companies that does like Toast. They do kantha jackets and everything. And you know, when you go to Liberty, yesterday I was at Liberty dissecting their design, and in Liberty they're selling kantha as well. And so they have become part of British society, American society, and Europe, in France and everywhere. But it originated from South Asia. And, you know, and one of the amazing things about South Asia, they love to recycle. They never throw anything away. But we are a takeaway society. And we have started now to recognize what we are doing to the earth. We are destroying our earth. But by recycling, upcycling, you're helping to save the world. So Val, can you show, while I'm laying all the kantha down, could you please show everybody your kantha, please? your clothes, your jacket?
Yeah, sure. Right. Well, Taslima was talking about jackets, and so I've got two jackets that are cancer quilted. These are both made from recycled saris, and they're obviously made by two different people. Um, this one's reversible, um, and this one's quite heavy, and the person who's done this has done it very, very neatly in tiny stitches with the normal sewing cotton, which is apparently the correct way to do it. So that's my one canter jacket. But this is my favourite. This one is much lighter, and this is a person made by a person um, whose hand sews like me, somebody impatient who wants to get it done, and she's got lots of different colours. She hasn't done it all in. The correct way to do a canther is um, you get the thread actually by picking out a thread from the edge of your old sari. But the person who has done this has used coloured sewing silks, so they're heavier than would be used in a traditional sari, and they're yellow and orange and turquoise, and they match the colours in the material. But I think that's quite stylish.
Yeah, I love it.
And I've also got a pair of trousers, and with this is done with alternating lines of hand stitch and machine stitch. I have actually seen the ladies doing whole lengths of fabric, just sitting in the courtyard cross-legged and just sewing a whole length of material with tiny running stitches, and they get them in lovely straight lines, which is something that won't be able to do if I live to be 100. And I've got my scarves. Uh, these have got one coloured backing cloth, and then different colours front cloth. And these are done in a more unusual way. Um, the edges are done in straight lines of tiny running stitches, the way Taslima has been saying. But then the pattern on this is lots of little circles, and the person who's done it has sewn round and round, tiny running stitches round and round in little circles, and then she's filled in the gaps afterwards with running stitches. And she's varied the colours in that. They're the colours that are in the scarf, but not always where you would expect them to be, and it gives it quite a sort of abstract, rather creative appearance.
And
And
also, they don't like think about matching colors. They just get, different fabric and put it together, but naturally it matches. And I just want to answer one question that somebody put out, that we don't talk about the fabric. Well, the fabric is actually made out of, the sari fabric is cotton. Mostly it's done by cotton, but if they do it by silk fabric, then it's made to sell, for the richer people. But it's the worn out saris that is made, because it's really soft, and it's just, I just can't, if I had a device that I could show you that how soft it is, it's like soft like cotton bud, Yeah.
This one is made of patchwork, and the patches are all made of previously worn saris, and it is very soft, and you can see on the back that she just cancelled them together in long lines. But all these patches are they're not printed all as one. They're all separate pieces of different saris, and it has a really beautiful colour sense. Some of the things that are put together are things that you wouldn't well, I wouldn't think of doing, because I just don't think that
Yeah, and
way.
sometimes they're very clashing colors that you
Yeah.
wouldn't think would work, but it does work. They have like a unique way of matching the colors. And if you look at Gucci, they have done it, and Chanel, they have taken inspiration from South Asia, and they have put their collection with this mismatch of colors, and it works because it's beautifully stitched together, just like the canthas.
And this is my quilt, which is made from recycled cotton saris, and you can see on this that it's not actually done traditionally with tiny little stitches. Again, she's used different coloured sewing silk, but these are all pattern pieces from hand block printed um, old saris, um, and it is beautifully soft
Val,
and wool.
Val, could you just move a little bit so it becomes focused? And Val's talking about the cantha and all these. They actually belong to me. Val just borrowed them. I just let Val borrow them, but they actually belong to me.
I think she's going to put a contract on me so she can get my quilt.
I definitely
This
am
is
going
one
to.
I don't actually like to use it on the bed in case it gets faded. But
Yeah, Val, could you just move it away from the screen?
Too close.
No, Maya, there is no there is nothing that is stuffing involved at all. If you look how I am laying the fabrics down, it's just layering it. That's it. There's nothing else. And what is so wonderful, which like fascinates me every time I do my workshop, is that the cantha stitch creates its own design and things. Like if you look at these, where's the heart gone? So these little mini hearts, if you look, can you see? They create their own little, quilty. Actually, it becomes very like soft, as if we had put something, a wadding inside. But there's no wadding at all. It's just the fabric, because it's so soft. And when the stitch are formed, because stitches are actually strengthening the fabric, because they're like fragments, they're going to just fall apart. But the stitch strengthens them, and like a soft quilt like effect, it is happening. Because if you look here, there is all plain, but if you look here, it's very quilty, but it's not. No wadding or anything has been put here. Okay, over to you, Val Jackson.
okay, so I don't actually like using this because I don't want the sunlight shining on the bed to fade it. I think it's too nice, and besides, I like looking at it, and besides, I have to keep it nice for when Taslima inherits it. Um, in addition, to that, I've brought to show you. I did a degree in embroidery 20 years ago, and we were taught all these different stitches, and we were taught cantha. But what we were learning was how to subvert the stitches that we did to express our own, our own thoughts or our own interests. And so I've produced all these pieces which use cantha stitching, but they're not. They use a sort of South Asian style of stitching, but they're not remotely South Asian because, of course, I'm not South Asian. So I've actually appliqued all these gloves and things on because ladies' clothes and accessories are like what I like to work about, because I think that your old clothes, the things that you keep, tell a story of your history, of your life. And so each of the things on this thing tells a story. And I've used the cantha to sort of emphasize them, but I haven't done straight lines of stitching. I've got it going in all different directions, which is fine, because in South Asian canthas you sometimes find that the ladies have done stitching in different directions. I've done this one without the appliques. This was about learning different ways you could do cantha, and the different how you could do it to go in different directions, and how the stitches could follow different shapes. So that's my butterfly and various different directions of cantha stitching. And I've got doves and stars and moons, and also back to applique.
In South Asia, they do put cows, they put birds, they do those kind of things.
And I did this because while I was traveling there, I got a bit of a thing about elephants. So I've got appliqued elephants, and they have got an applique, and they have got a canthered background, and each different shape is canthered in a different way, and the background is also canthered, but the stitches go in all different directions, and they cross over at the corner to make a nice effect. I must say, it never occurred to me to do cows. I've got elephants, and I've got little pigs, and Taslima, close your eyes for a minute, and I put a little mouse in each corner because I like mice.
Val likes mice and I don't. And I also want to tell you, like in South Asia, because the saris are every child, their mother or grandmother, their saris are made into cantha for them to use in the winter months. So like my husband, for instance, he's got there's 6 of them. So his mother made 6 canthas, especially canthas, for them, and they're very, very beautifully made. And but now she's gone away. That's like very special to them, and that's like a piece of heirloom that will be passed down to their children. But then also what my husband's mum did as well, she made nappies and baby blankets out of her saris for her grandchildren. And when I got mine, I thought, I'm not going to use a nappy. This is a piece of art.
I bet you've got them still.
Yeah, and I still have them because they're just, they're a piece of art. And if I used it for nappy, they'd be just discarded after a while. So, but because the fabric is so soft, you know, it's soft against the baby's skin. But because cotton saris are now in South Asia, because of the modern clothes, the Western clothes, and the surplus of factories making, you know, garments like trousers, jeans, t-shirts, dresses. So the surplus.
It's also because so many saris these days are made of polyester, which are not useful in any of these ways.
No. So even the polyester saris, they know that your georgettes and man-made fiber, they don't make the same. You can't make a kantha out of it. It just doesn't sit, you know, stitch nicely. It just, you know, moves about too much. Where
it's nice against your skin.
Yeah, and the cotton is that it doesn't move. Like as you can see, I've not pinned this, and I'm making this kantha, which I've done right in front of you, but it's little baby kantha, and I'm gonna turn it into a cushion. But again, this is our old bed sheets that have been worn away, and I found them in the secondhand shop, or I found them in the antique market, and I bought them because I know these, even though people think they are junk, they're actually treasures, because it's very, very hard to find them. And so if you're going to make kantha, go around secondhand shops and look at the bed sheets and quilt covers that are worn away in the, you know, by people's footprints, and how people kick the quilt cover and you get a bit of holes, and, you know, and the washing and everything, it wears away. But those are the fabrics that are magical, and they turn into these fantastic kanthas like this little heart that I'm doing. Haven't finished it yet, but they are so soft and so lovely to handle. And it's very, very, like, with new fabric, I've tried with new fabric. I bought new fabric, I tried, but it was absolutely too hard to sew, because your fingers, remember, you're using your hand, so your thumb and this finger is worn away, and it's too tough. But the soft fabrics are the best fabric, and worn away fabric is very, very rare and hard to find. But you have to go to the secondhand shops, unless your grandmother, if you're South Asian, your grandmother, your mother has saris, or your aunties, then you can make, but cotton ones. Silk ones is also, when you're doing silk, with silk is very hard to sew, because it's pure silk, it's very hard for the needle to penetrate in. So, you know, even though we've tried with silk, I prefer to do it with very, you know, fragile fabrics, as Val will, you know, tell you as well. That
I have to say that most of mine are silk, but they are very old recycled silk. They're not, they're nothing like new. And
no, I'm talking about the ones that you're making. You know, the kanthas that when we make in our class workshop, we use soft fabric, because the women have tried. They've bought new fabric and bought that, I'm telling some porcupines, but they, you know, even I used to think, you know, when I was learning all this, to buy new fabric, to do it with new fabric. But there is something really special about old fabric that's worn away, because it is telling you a story. And it's not only telling you a story, you know, I feel that I'm the custodian of these fabrics. that I need to save them and turn them into something new, like what we do. Val, what's
Yes.
your opinion of old fabric?
Well, yes. Like these things are used to be a place in Manchester where you could buy packs of pieces of old sari, and most of these are made from these pieces of old sari, and they are, well, some of them are so old that really they're hardly fit to make anything with, but the camphor kind of reinforces them and holds them together when I've done these things with them, and see that
And
one.
they don't
That
fall apart.
that one was independently falling apart. That piece of silk, but because I haven't used an ancient silk background. I've just used cotton because it really needed something to hold it together. Because I wanted to make it wait, instead of doing straight lines, I wanted to make it be like Southport sands and be kind of wavy like Southport sands, and that has held it together because it's quite a long time since I made that, and it hasn't deteriorated any further. It's fine, but these are all recycled silk. So I think for canthers especially, they they start off with a really kind of inbuilt ancient look that you would want in an heirloom, and they 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 sort of maintain that. It looks as though they were
Yeah,
made by far farther back in the family.
yeah. And one thing I noticed when I was doing my research is that everybody has a cancer. Rich people has it underneath their pillow. The poor people have their, you know, they're sleeping on it, and you see them being washed in the pond, in the rivers, and you see, one of my most memorable what I've taken a photograph of is this man in the middle of the hustle and bustle of the main street. He is wearing a kantha over his head with a stone on his head, and he's gone to sleep. And he's sleeping away. And I told my mother-in-law, look at this, look how he's having such a lovely sleep, and you have to have a sleeping tablet to sleep. So it's, and then I saw them in the corridors of the people that were working in houses with the kantha thrown over. And it's just like everybody has this beautiful piece of art and nobody values it. Nobody thinks it's a piece of art. When I started to collect, and when I said to my mother-in-law, please, can I have them? She said, why would you want them? These are just junk. I said, absolutely not. Because at that time I was doing my BA. And I said, no, these are pieces of art. They are absolutely with a wonderful piece of art, and everybody has one. I can't. I find so much love in my canvas, and I find so much enjoyment in them because everyone is not the same. Everyone is different. How can that be possible? It's because our hand, everybody's hand has created their own individual artwork. And, because it's like a drawing that they've created, and it's so beautiful. But I feel really very passionate about my canvas, Val will tell you. And I feel like they are a another person to me that I live with, but my kanthas live everywhere. They live in my house, they live in the mill, they live in my mother's house, they live in my brother's house, because I have to spread them out. I have to say, please, can you look after them? Please, can I, because I would need a huge space, and I do have a huge space, and majority of my kanthas live in the mill. But it would be great one day if I could have an exhibition of all my kanthas. I mean, how much space would I need? And which one? Because every one is special to me. And also they tell a historical events of the textiles in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 1930s, because all of the designs have changed and the designs are never the same. So even the paisleys, the color, they're different. The peacock feathers, the little dintsy prints, the flowers, all the everyday things that you see in these kantha, history is preserved because the design is preserved. And some of those kanthas are, people from low social background. Their saris are different from the middle class and the upper class. So that itself is like being preserved as well. And, and then the tartan, how tartan is a South Asian design, and now it's become a British design, and in British part of Scotland. But again, I have saris that are, actually the saris, lots and lots of saris are checks. They call it checks, but actually it's, tartan, but it's cotton or silk. And these again are preserved by color. And how color is so important to South Asia because it's so vibrant and so alive. It's just absolutely like, I just don't know how to explain it. I was like, I get so happy when I see all these colors, and the colors on the saris, the rickshaws, the trucks, and even the fruits and the vegetables. They're so vibrant. It's almost like as if that you got the paintbrush and you did colored the red, colored the orange, colored the pink, colored the neon colors. But they're naturally naturally South Asia has naturally designed this. So you could be in a set of like, Gucci, and you would think, oh, because a few years, like 2 years ago when Gucci did all the cardigans and everything, so you might almost like as if you're in their set, but they have taken that design, the color and everything, and implemented it into the fashion industry. So we have lots and lots of shared history that we never talk about. We never, and we never was taught at uni either. I never knew that that lots of the designs from William Morris that is embedded again in the kanthas and saris and things came from South Asia. I always believed, because my lecturers taught us, that it is British design. Val, would you like to add something?
I don't think so. The most prominent source of South Asian design in British culture, the biggest sort of influence, was actually the Art Nouveau movement of the late 19th century, which actually centred on Liberties of London. Arthur Leigh Liberty started Liberties, was one of the first to start importing lots of stuff from different parts of Asia, and it was so different and so exciting to people that it set up this whole. Not only that, there was more to it than that. But we've got a lot of time, but it revolutionised really design and colour in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. And I think that was the sort of prime thing that made South Asian design more and more mainstream in this country. Although it was always influential right from the time that they first started to import um, printed South Asian fabrics to make ladies' dresses with. It became influential, going right back to that time in the 17th century. So
and also, Val, when they were exporting, they would wrap kantha, small pieces of kantha, and wrap it. And women, when it was given to the women, and they were like fascinated by these colors and they wanted more. And also when they wrapped the tea, the small pieces of kantha used to come, because they used to put the tea in the kanthas. But even today, if you go to some South Asian houses, especially in the village and things, they have their tea wrapped up in small pieces of kanthas. I don't know. I think because I think they do this because I was like asking why do they do it, and it's become part of their everyday life. But I think because it's moist, so it keeps the moisture away from the tea. So they wrap it in this kantha and put it in a tin. Whereas here, we would put it in a tin and that's it, or have a foil. But they don't. They wrap it in these small pieces of kantha. And I'm just like, I need those. I was like, I just wanted that
now
than the cup of tea.
You're not supposed to have plastic carrier bags. Often when you buy things, particularly textiles, but not only textiles, in South Asia and in bazaars and things, you will be given your purchase in a bag that's basically made of cut up old clothes. So you never know what you'll get. but I really like those bags. I've kept all mine. So it's
Me
a tradition.
Too.
It's a tradition. This using cut up old clothes as wrappings. When you're selling things, I think it's a splendid South Asian tradition. I love it.
Yeah. If you look at this, my little bag, no, Val, it's not yours. It belongs to me.
I think
So
mine.
if you see, this is a lovely little bag that I got from Numan's mum. You know, she just like thought I was bonkers. I said I was mad. I said, no, I want all these. Please, can you show me, give them all to me? Because I just think that they're so fascinated, and if they get discarded, then we're losing part of history.
I love them. They're far better than some plastic bag or something. They're it's sort of like getting a little present with the thing you bought.
Yeah. So can everybody hear me? And if you want to say anything, any questions to Val and me, please can you ask me the question? I'm just full of cotton thread. So I've shown you how to do the kanthas, and you can type your question. And if you want to do my kantha workshop, I have a workshop at the Science Museum in August. 11th. It's on the 11th of August, and I think it's on the 25th of August. So you can book into Science Museum Manchester, and you can book in and come to my class, and it's free. So, you know, I would love to see what you guys have done. So I have stitched my kantha. If you look, I've used the red thread. Actually, the red thread, you know what really baffles me is that I want to use the white thread, whereas in South Asia, they would have taken the thread off their saris, the end of the border, and use that. But I want to because I've been so clone into design that I'm always thinking of matching. But what I do is I have a big bag of fabric like this. Let me show you. So I've got this this is a little one, but I've got boxes and boxes of fabric. So what I tend to do, because I want to when I'm ripping up the fabric in different colors, I want to because this design head of mine always go back to matching. So what I do is I close my eyes and I rip all the fabric. I don't know what is coming. And then I just lay the fabric when I'm doing my pieces. So, you know, just to get how they do it, because they're naturally great designers. And, you know, we're great designers too, but we have been taught lots of things like color, how to put colors together, you know, block colors, all of these colors. Pink should be pink and different shades of pink with a little bit of green, all of these things. But it fascinates me how they don't think of all this. They just lay the design, and it works. Like Val showed you, some of the colors we tend to not use because we think, oh my goodness, this is clashing colors. But I've started to practice a little bit on what I wear. Like I would wear a different print, but then I would wear a different print on my headscarf. It kind of doesn't match, but it matches because it's the imprint that I put in. So when I'm showing you my one that I did, if I lift it, all my pieces will fall off. So, but I'm going to show you the one that I did the running stitch. Can you see? Yeah? Can you see? Okay. So this is how the basic kantha is. So, you know, if you wanted to do a big piece, then you have to start collecting old shirts, dressing gowns. But best fabric to use is cotton. You can't use woolly jumpers, or you can't use unnatural fabric, because when you go to sew it by hand, it's very, very difficult to sew. So, and remember, you're making a big piece or a small piece, or you're starting. So think about your fabric, because when you are using cotton and you're, you know, or cotton or jeans, you can do it with jeans. But again, what I do if I'm using old jeans is I soak them in comfort. And I don't just soak them for one day. I leave it for a week. And then I wash it all out before it disintegrates. And if it's still tough, I do it again and again until it's soft. And then I start to sew with the denim fabric. But my best fabric is the soft cotton. And now I discovered during pandemic, the bed sheets and the quilt covers and things, because you can get huge pieces of fabric like for a few pounds, you know, but people don't realize this is a piece of fabric. You can make a kantha coat, you can make a kantha trousers, a waistcoat. You can just about make anything, because these are big pieces of fabric. And then when you work on them, they become a very unique design that you have created with your hands. Any questions? You can type your question. No? Okay, so Val, do you have a question before we close our class?
No.
No?
When are you going to give me that lovely bag of mine that you've got?
Val is always after my stuff. Naughty, naughty Val Jackson.
You're always after my stuff.
Because you've got my stuff. They belong to me. Okay, on that note, Val and me would thank you for staying and listening to us. And I hope you guys have learned something. And I hope that you'll be able to come to my workshop at the Science Museum. And remember, South Asian Heritage Month is focused on South Asia. And it's so, I just love that every year, you know, it starts from the 17th, it finishes on the 17th of August, South Asia Heritage Month. But the thing, what is like that, I just love it because we're digging up all what, you know, all our designs, the fabric, the food that is cross-pollinated, like, and the music, you know, all kinds of things. Like, just to feed my children kale, I make kale pakoras. And they think it's pakoras. They think, oh, wow, it's tasty. But little do they realize they're eating kale. And, you know, lots of people don't like kale. But, again, it's a cross-pollination. And now my kale pakora is like, in the mill, everybody always say, can you make the kale pakora? I only did this to teach my children to eat the vegetables. So there's lots and lots of cross-pollination of lots of things in our everyday life we don't even realize. So thank you, everybody. And Val, would you like to say bye to everybody?
Yes. Thank you very much.
And also thank you to South Asian Heritage Month to allowing us to do this kantha workshop. Thank you. And it's 3 years old. Happy birthday. Oh. Okay, so we're going to end by saying happy birthday to South Asian Heritage Month because they're 3 years old. And next year it will be 4 years old and we're going to have a bang. Me and Val, we're going to do something spectacular.